How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Grand Archive video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today we have another Grand Archive deck tech for you, featuring none other than Alice Phantom Monarch. This is a really cool deck. Now, is this the best deck in Grand Archive? No. Is it a really cool, flavorful deck where you can just combo kill and deal your opponent 15 damage out of nowhere? Yes. Yes, it is, and it's super fun. So, yeah, that's going to be the deck tech for today. Ever since this card was first spoiled, I was like, I gotta make a deck, and I kind of like dove into it, checked out a couple different options, and of course, I went for the fire option. So we are running fire, but mostly Umbra, one of my favorite elements in Grand Archive, and this is all about reanimating and combo. Rihanna combo. We're going with that. So, yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our top down and dive in to our Dark Alice Rihanna combo deck. Let's do it. All right, so let's get started. I'm actually pretty stoked to talk about this deck because I think it is very fun. If you like off-meta decks or really fun or oddball decks or even combo one-turn kill decks, you're going to like this one. But before we start diving into the deck, I do want to give a quick shout out to Dragon Shield. Yes, we are an affiliate with Dragon Shield. I did sleeve this deck up in these official Grand Archive Dragon Shield Alice sleeves. These ones are actually dual matte, and they're very nice. Spoilers, we're running Spirel in the deck. But yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to Dragon Shield. If you would like to buy some Dragon Shield of your own, you can go to dragonshield.com and type in Rogue5 to get 5% off your order on Dragon Shield. So Rogue5 on dragonshield.com, 5% off your order. Grand Archive sleeves, any sleeves. The dual matte sleeves are my favorite, but anything there. So yeah, let's start talking about the deck. So my material deck is actually in these other sleeves, not Dragon Shield sleeves. These are actually ones that I got in Japan, and I think they fit the theme, the vibes of this deck very, very well. So yeah, as usual, we're going to talk about the material deck first, and then we'll do the main deck and then our sideboard. And we have some cards we're going to talk about like kind of in between here. So we have our champion lineage here. So we are running the Serene Spirit of Fire. It's really simple. We have that nice glimpse at the start so we can actually sculpt our hand. We are a heavy Umbra deck. So we want to make sure that we have playable cards in our starting hand. And then we also have this lineage release to recover 6, which is also really important because we do a lot of damage to ourselves unless we set things up properly. So the Serene Spirit makes a lot of sense for the deck. For the level 1, obviously we have Alice Distorted Queen. This one says, on enter we gain the Phantasmagoria Mastery, and then we put 2 haunt counters on it. And then we can lineage release this to recover 2+X, or X is the amount of cards in Alice's lineage. So we have 2 different ways to recover, which is actually really nice. Once again, we do a lot of damage to ourselves, and we just don't want to die. We don't want to die. And then the Phantasmagoria that we get from our Alice level 1. It's a lot of words here, but we'll go over it. It basically like helps us cycle our graveyard, which is actually really cool. So it says, non-Spectre cards in our graveyard lose all abilities, period. So we're not running any floating memory or anything like that because, well, it would lose their abilities. So we're running a lot of Spectre cards. Alice bonus. Whenever a Spectre ally we control dies, put a haunt counter on Phantasmagoria. So we want to put a lot of haunt counters on this. It comes into play with 2, and if a Spectre dies, we get another one. We have other ways to do that as well. Also, Alice bonus, at the beginning of our end phase, we may put all cards in our graveyard on the bottom of our deck, in any order. If we do, put the top X cards from our deck into the graveyard, where X is the number of haunt counters on Phantasmagoria. This is really fun. So, say we have 10 cards in our bin, and we have 5 cards on Phantasmagoria. We can put the 10 cards in our bin on the bottom of the deck, and then we put the top 5, because it's the number of haunt counters, from the top of our deck into our graveyard. This helps us cycle through our graveyard so we can have like cool graveyard shenanigans. We have a lot of Spectres that we can play from our graveyard. We also have some Reanimator stuff that we can like reanimate stuff from our graveyard. This is really cool, super fun, and like one of the reasons why you'd want to play this deck. And then the final piece de resistance is the Alice Phantom Monarch. This is level 2. This has the Umbra element, which is the only champion so far to have a level 2 with advanced element. This is Alice lineage, and then inherited effect. It's interesting that it has an inherited effect, which might imply that we eventually get a level 3 someday, but In any case, whenever you play an advanced element card while there are no curses in Alice's lineage, deal 7 unpreventable damage to Alice. So basically we want to curse ourselves at least once, so we stop taking 7 damage every time we play any of our Umbra cards. And so we have some ways to do that. So one of the big important parts about this deck is getting to level 2 and then cursing ourselves so we can actually play stuff without, killing ourselves as well. And so that's our champion lineage. Pretty simple. We just have this way to cycle our graveyard, and then we have an early way to get Umbra. So let's talk about some of the other cards in our material deck. And this is a big one. This is our big combo card, the Condemned Trinket. Now, this is one of the coolest parts about this deck. This is a 0 cost Regalia item. It's a Guardian Bauble. You can pay 3 and banish the Condemned Trinket, and then banish a card from our graveyard, and then we put an Omen counter on it. That's extremely important that we put an Omen counter on it. There's one card that we want to banish with this. Very specifically, we want to banish Advent of the Stormcaller. Now, hear me out. We're cooking here. We're going somewhere here. So, this is a really important card to the end game of the deck. We banish Advent of the Stormcaller with an Omen counter on it. The only thing we care about this card, we cannot play this card at all in the deck. The only reason we care about this is because it has a cost of 15. Now, you might know where we're going from here, but cost of 15. We are running 3 copies in this deck, and the only reason we're running this is because we want it in our graveyard, and we want to banish it with Condemned Trinket and put an Omen counter on it. That's the only reason we're running this card in the deck. And we use all of this in combination with Baleful Oblation, which is an Umbra Action Guardian spell. It costs 5 to play. It's fast speed. It has a CL bonus, which we don't care about at all. And it says, deal X damage to all units except for your champion, where X is the lowest reserve cost among our omens. Guess what? The only omen we'll ever have has a reserve cost of 15. So this is our big finisher. We can play Baleful Oblation after we do Condemned Trinket on one of our Advent of the Stormcallers to just blast our opponent's entire board, and all of our dudes too, except for Alice, for 15 damage. We're running 3 copies of this in the deck, and this is, you can think of this as like an alternate win con for the deck. It's not the primary thing we want to do, but it is kind of the primary thing we want to do. We have a lot of other cards to help facilitate damage and board control and all that kind of stuff, but we have this big wombo combo finisher that's actually not that hard to pull off. Because of how Alice works, we're going to be cycling our graveyard with Phantasmagoria Mastery, and so yeah, there's a good chance that we can get this Advent of the Stormcaller in our bin, and then we can use our Condemned Trinket to kind of pop off. So yeah, I wanted to mention that first because that's really important to how the deck functions. Important thing to note also with the Phantasmagoria is that it says you may put all cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck. So if you have this and you kind of want to sit around on it, you don't have to cycle them with the talent. So that's really, really good. That is our Baleful Oblation Stormcaller combo. It's a big one. It's a really fun part of the deck. All right, let's talk about the rest of the material deck. So here we have Mantle of the Abyss. This is one of my own Red Zone Rogue custom proxies for Mantle of the Abyss. This is a Proxies Vault card. I will have these available on the Red Zone Rogue merch store, redzonerogue.com, but this also went out to patrons for this month, for February actually, so last month. So anyway, Mantle of the Abyss. It is a 0 cost Fire Regalia item, Cleric Robe, and it says Alice bonus. You can pay 3, banish this, and generate a Ryle of the Abyss and put it into our memory. So this is how we get our Ryle of the Abyss. So it's a great card advantage card. Ryle of the Abyss, of course, is a 3 cost fast speed action. Cleric spell. Draw a card, then discard up to 2 Spectre cards. Cleric Spectre spell. Draw a card and then discard up to 2 Spectre cards. For each card discard this way, draw an additional card. So this is like a draw 3 and discard 2 Spectres. It's really, really good. It also just says Spectre cards, not Spectre allies, and we have some non-Spectre allies as well. So yeah, Ryle of the Abyss. This one is not in the deck, but you do need to have it in a regular sleeve because we generate it into our memory. So that is also great. So we're kind of just like putting all the cards that synergize here. Next we have the Oniric Key. This is great for Alice. It's a 0 cost Regalia item, Alice bonus. On enter, put a haunt counter on our Phantasmagoria so we can get the bigger wheels. We have 4 costs, you banish it and draw a card into memory. So it's kind of like our backup charger, but also synergizes with what we're doing. We also have Portechus Tengu. So for the next two, I'm just using proxies. I do have real versions of these cards, but I like the cute proxies by my friend Lucky Yuki here. So this is just the Portechus Tengu, which is found in the Guoja starter. You can put backup charger instead of this or whatever you want. It's just a 0 cost, pay 3, banish it, draw a card in your memory. That's all that matters about this card. So like I said, you can put backup charger instead. And the trick to this is that you materialize this with 3 cards in hand, and then you immediately activate the effect to put the card into your memory before you recollect. Same is true for the Oniric Key. You would materialize this, and then you would pay 4 and banish this before you recollect, assuming you have 4 cards in your hand. That's kind of like the tech. So, yes. I should note that the proxies like this for non-proxies vault cards are not legal for competitive play. This Mantle of the Abyss, I do believe, would be legal for competitive play with how Proxies Vault cards are worded. But anyway, let's move on to Quicksilver Grail. So usually with a Dark Alice deck, you would run another Divine Relic, right? We would typically be running like the Lost Providence, for example, which lets us just get it once we hit our level 2 and have that advanced element. But for this particular deck, I really like the Quicksilver Grail. Once again, I do have a real copy of the Quicksilver Grail, but I like this this cute one that Lucky Yuki did. Why we're running this over something like the Lost Providence is because of Condemned Trinket. We want to hide our Condemned Trinket so we can make sure we get the combo off. So if you don't know, Quicksilver Grail is a 0 cost Divine Relic. On enter, you banish a non-champion card from our material deck face down. We're usually just going to pick the Condemned Trinket. And we can banish this, and we play the banished card, still pay for its cost. So the reason we do this is we can hide the Condemned Trinket, and then we can, pop it out whenever we need to, so we can actually do our combo, which is really, really good. So yeah, that's why we run Quicksilver Grail. If you have a Lost Providence, they're very expensive right now. You can potentially run it instead of Quicksilver, but I like the Quicksilver. So yeah, there's the Grail. We're also running Nullifying Lantern. This is another card you can actually hide under the Quicksilver Grail. It just says cards in graveyards are norm element. We don't care about that really. So yeah, I mean, all the cards in our graveyards lose their abilities anyway, so might as well just get rid of their elements too. So this is just really good hate card against a lot of decks that care about elements in the graveyard. So this is a really nice one. We're also running the Ducal Seal. This is kind of like a, juiced up Tariff Ring. So it's a 0 cost Regalia item, but it does have the Exalted mechanic, which means we can only materialize this once we have an advanced element, but we get that pretty early. And it says we can banish it until end of turn. Players can't declare attacks unless they pay 3 for each attack declaration. Activate this ability only during an opponent's recollection phase. So it's basically, like I said, a juiced up Tariff Ring. It's really good against aggro. We're also running a Ticket to the Afterlife. This is a 0 cost Umbra Regalia item. It says activated ability of Spectre cards in our graveyard costs 1 less to activate. Extremely good for our deck. We have a ton of Spectre cards. And it also says Spectre cards we activate from our graveyard cost 1 less to activate. So Spectre abilities and Spectre cards we activate both cost 1 less. And then we can pay 2, arrest it, and banish a Spectre card from our graveyard to recover 2. Also great, so we can make use of those cards to heal some. We have a lot of healing in the deck. So that's fantastic. And then our final card in the material deck is Devouring Malice. This is an X cost Umbra Regalia item. Devouring Malice enters the field with X gem counters on it, which is however much you paid here. And it says you can remove a gem counter from it, and then you, as a spell, choose one that hasn't been chosen. So we can either put 3 debuff counters on target ally, and a debuff counter just gives it -1/-1, so it could potentially kill that ally. We can deal 3 damage to target champion and recover 3, which is great, or deal 8 unpreventable damage to our champion and discard and draw 2 cards, which is also really, really good. So a nice little toolbox card. We definitely want to try to put 3 counters on this so we can use all 3, but sometimes 2 is enough. Maybe sometimes 1 is enough if you're going to win the game with it, dealing 3 damage to a champion. So yeah, it's really, really solid, and that's basically our material deck. We have some options in our sideboard. For example, I can kind of spoil it already. We'll talk about Safeguard Amulet. yeah, we are running Sacred Amulet. It's really good against some decks, doesn't do anything against other decks. Sideboard this in if your opponent is doing a lot of spell damage, if they're doing like a, you know, fractals or just any sort of spell damage based deck, like OG Merlin Kingslayer or something like that. It's also great to hide under the Quicksilver Grill, so that's pretty good. And they're also running this Spellword Scepter. I think this card is sweet in this deck. So it's a 0-cost Regalia item. It's hindered, so it comes into play rested, and then we can banish it, and then the activation of the next card we activate this turn can't be negated. So we put this in against decks that are running a lot of like counter magic, negation magic, so we can actually do our Baleful Oblation and kill them without having to worry about anything getting like countered or anything like that. So yeah, those are the two Regalia items. Material deck cards that we have in the sideboard. We have a bunch of other stuff on the sideboard. We'll talk about that when the time comes. So yeah, that's our material deck. We have a lot of options. The deck, you can kind of see what we're doing here. I think the deck is extremely fun, and yeah, that's kind of a different flavor for Grand Archive. Kind of a different flavor. So let's go ahead and jump into the main deck. Now I feel the main deck's going to go a little bit quicker because some of the cards are fairly simple. We do have our suite of powerful Umbra allies here. So we're running Spirel Schwartz Queen. I put this on almost all of my Umbra decks. She's one of my spoiler cards, and I think she's just so good. She kind of warps the game around her when you play her. We're only running 2 copies in the main deck, but I think she's still worth it. So she's a 2-cost 0/4, unique ally, Cleric Chessman, Queen Human. On enter, as a spell, deal 3 damage to target unit, including your opponent's face if you'd like. Then you can banish a card from her hand or memory face down. We can also pay an additional 2 and rest her and reveal the card banished by Spirel with a reserve cost X, and we negate each activation of cards with reserve cost X. So if we use her effect and put down, let's say, we'll put down this Bandersnatch, well, we can reveal the Bandersnatch and then negate anything that's currently being played that has reserve cost 5. Because Bandersnatch has a reserve cost of 5. You typically don't want to do 5. You typically want to do like a 3 or 2, but still, keep that in mind. And then you put each card negated this way and each card banished by Spirel into their owner's memory. So they go back into the memories, and then you trigger each of Spirel's on-enter abilities again. So we will deal another 3 damage, and then we can put a card, we can banish another card. So Spirel, at a base level, she can deal 6 damage when she comes into play. You don't need a target for the negation effect, so you can just play her, blast something for 3, activate her effect, blast something for 3. It's really good. She's a great finisher. Doing 6 damage for 4 is just a really way to close out the game. And you can also do like the counter and negation shenanigans. So Spirel, very good. Now we have the reanimation targets of the deck. We have Jabberwocky and we have the Bandersnatch. These are both unique allies, so you can only have one on the field at a time. Jabberwocky is an 8-drop. Jabberwocky Calamity's Call. Unique ally, Anomaly Spectre Beast Dragon. It is a 4/3, and it says you can pay 2 and you can banish a Spectre ally card from our graveyard, recover 2, and Jabberwocky gets +2 until end of turn, which is great. It's another way to just heal and then get, you know, big pumps for the Jabberwocky. And as long as the player doesn't control an object named Vorpal Sword, prevent all damage that we dealt to Jabberwocky. So Jabberwocky can actually survive our giant Baleful Oblation 15 damage board wipe, and also 15 damage to our opponent's face, if no one has the Vorpal Sword, because it prevents all damage. So this is kind of like a really annoying, almost unkillable threat. It does cost 8, but we're not going to really pay that 8. We're just going to reanimate it with some other cards in the deck. So yeah, really solid. We're only running a couple copies of each of these, just because we're going to be cycling our graveyard so much. And the way that we play these for the most part is actually from the graveyard with reanimation. So we're running 2 copies of Jabberwocky in the main deck. And then we have our other finisher. We have Bandersnatch, Frumious Foe. I love this big chungus. So it's a 5-cost, 2/6, unique ally, Anomaly Spectre Beast Bear. It has class bonus Taunt, which is annoying. And it says whenever Bandersnatch is dealt damage, recover 3. Also annoying. You can also pay 2, sacrifice another ally, Bandersnatch gets +2 and gains Cleave until end of turn. And we can activate this multiple times. So we can pump Bandersnatch up, make it like a 6/6 with Cleave and just 6 their entire board. So once we kind of get rolling, we can do an insane amount of damage with all of our finishers between Spirel, Jabberwocky, and Bandersnatch. Tons and tons of damage. This is kind of how we win outside of our Oblation combo. So we're running 3 copies of Bandersnatch, in the main deck. I have to say main deck because we're actually running additional copies of these in the sideboard. I guess once again, I can mention it now. We are running an additional copy of each of them in the sideboard if our opponent is playing kind of a slower game, and if we think that we can actually get the kill off with these instead of our Oblation combo. So we can actually side in more allies, more finishers, which is good. All right, let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts of the deck. So we have Hasty Messenger, simple 2-cost fire, 1/2 on attack. We can discard a card if we do draw a card. Discarding stuff is great in the deck because, well, it helps fuel our graveyard synergies, like our reanimation stuff, but it also helps us so we can discard stuff like the Advent of the Stormcaller, so we can then do the Condemned Trinket on it. So, yeah, pretty good. Running 4 copies of the good old classic Hasty Messenger. We're also running Vengeful Paramour. This is another way we can actually push some damage. It's a 2-cost 2/1 Cleric Spectre ally. On enter as a spell, if Vengeful Paramour is ephemeral, deal 2 damage to target champion, and then we can ephemerate for 4, which it means, just so you know, we have a lot of stuff with ephemerate. So what it does is we can pay the cost if this card is in our graveyard. And if we do, it comes into play, but it also becomes ephemeral. Ephemeral cards, when they leave play, they get banished. So this can immediately come into play, deal 2 damage, and then if it leaves play, or if we, wheel into it, or if we discard it, we can ephemerate it. It'll deal another 2 damage, and we can attack for another 2. So this is kind of like a, 6-ish damage card, 4 damage from the graveyard. So really solid. And once again, keep in mind that all of the ephemerate costs are going to be reduced by 1 because of our Ticket to the Afterlife, because it reduces all the abilities of specters or specter cards in our graveyard by 1, which is great. So that'll only cost 3 if we have that on the field. We have another specter with ephemerate. This is Lingering Banshee. It's a simple 3-cost 2/3 with ephemerate 6, and as long as we control 1 or more ephemeral objects, it has a cost reduction of 3. So it will cost only 3 to ephemerate if we have another ephemeral object, or only 2 if we have the ticket as well. So it's just a nice little resilient threat. It's just a 2/3 that kind of keeps coming back. And once again, all of these cards with ephemerate are extremely good when they just get wheeled into our bin with Phantasmagoria. So keep that in mind. We kind of want to keep putting cards into our graveyard so we can, get added value. You can think of like our graveyard as an additional hand when we have Phantasmagoria online. It's a lot of fun. Next up, we have the Liminal Guide. As you would guess, this is kind of like the stopgap for the deck. This is the expensive card for this deck. All the other cards in the deck, not too bad. This card, kind of ridiculous. So this is a 3-cost 1/3 Cleric Spectre ally. Whenever our champion levels up, return this card from our graveyard to the field. If we do, it becomes ephemeral and we draw a card. It's extremely good. We want to put this in our graveyard as soon as possible. We want to just bin this dude with any effect that we can. We have our Hasty Messengers. We have our Mantle of the Abyss to get our Wild of the Abyss. Discarding 2 Liminal Guides is disgusting. It's actually disgusting because we would discard 2 Liminal Guides, draw 3 cards total with this, and then when we level up, we'll get the Liminal Guides back and then draw additional 2 cards. It's pretty good. Also, we can get this in our graveyard just by wheeling with Phantasmagoria, so extremely good. We're running a full copy, 4 full copies of the Liminal Guide. This is kind of like our annoying Spectre package here. Next up, we have the Shackled Thurgist. It's a 2-cost 0/2 Umbra ally Cleric Spectre. This one also has Taunt, so we have more ways to protect ourselves. As long as this is ephemeral, it gets +4. So if this thing is ephemeral, it's a 4/2, which is pretty big. And then on death, target opponent may sacrifice an ally. If they don't, return this into our field, and it gets an additional +2 health until end of turn, and becomes ephemeral. So it's just kind of like a recursive blocker that can become a threat. We're running 4 copies of this, which is pretty nice. I should also mention, by the way, anything that has this on-death effect, you can make good use of that with the Bandersnatch and the Jabberwocky, because those have abilities that let us sacrifice dudes. So we can eat them with the Bandersnatch or Jabberwocky. They'll get their buffs, and then this will come back into play, unless our opponent sacrifices an ally. So yeah, it's really good. It's really solid. It's almost as if all the deck just really works together. We're also running the Unyielding Wraithguard. This is a 2-cost 0/2, also with Taunt. And then on death, return return Unyielding Wraithguard from our graveyard to the field, it becomes ephemeral. It's just kind of like a worse Thurgist, but it's still pretty good, right? The third just comes back and it hits, you know, it becomes a 4/4 for the turn, but this one still comes back. So once again, great use off of Bandersnatch and Jabberwocky. So really, really good. They also come back, if, you know, once we do our Oblation and, you know, nuke everything for 15, they will come back if they are not ephemeral. They're also all Spectres, so that all matters for everything, right? So every time a Spectre dies, we get a counter on the Phantasmagoria, yada yada. All right, so here is our big reanimation spell. So this is the Spectral Haunting. It costs 6, but not really. It really costs 2. It says, Alice bonus, this card costs 4 less to activate if it targets a Spectre. Of course, it's an Umbra, slow, Cleric Spectre spell. So yeah, we're going to be targeting a Spectre like almost all the time, unless we somehow really need to get Spirel back. But most of the time, we're going to be targeting a Spectre. All of our big hits are Spectres. The ones we really want to get are Bandersnatch or Jabberwocky, so it'll just cost 2 to res one of those. It just says, return target ally from our graveyard to the field, it becomes ephemeral. Super simple. Pay 2, res one of our big threats, and we can kind of go to town. We're running a full 4 copies of Spectral Haunting. Of course, like I said, this is kind of like a Reanimator style deck, and this is like the big Reanimator card. We're also running the Abnegation. This is a card that you'll see in a lot of Umbra decks. It's just a big heal. It's a 2-cost fast speed cleric action cleric spell. Recover 8 plus X, where X is the twice amount of curse cards in our champion's lineage. We will actually have curse cards in our lineage, so we can actually heal for a ton. And this also has Alice bonus. As long as a card activation you controlled was negated this turn, this card in our graveyard has Ephemerate too, which is also extremely good. Spells with Ephemerate, they just get banished after you resolve them. So running 3 copies of Abnegation in the main deck. It's just a big heal. Next up we have Remnant of Will. I don't know if this is a reference to Force of Will, but I'm kind of choosing to think that it is. This is a 1-cost Umbra slow action Cleric Spectre spell. It just says put 2 haunt counters on our Phantasmagoria and recover 4. That's fantastic. Fuels everything we want to do. Heals us, put more haunt counters. It also has Ephemerate 1, which is also great. So we can play this from our bin. This is another really, really nice one. We're running a full 4 copies of this. As you can see, we have a lot of Umbra cards. Next up, we have Maledictum Vitae. This card is really important for this deck. So this is a 2-cost, fast speed Umbra, action Cleric Spectre curse spell, curse being the most important part about this card. It says, you put Maledictum Vitae on the bottom of target champion's lineage. We're going to choose ourselves. Whenever this card is put into a champion's lineage, that champion's controller recovers 4. So we curse ourselves with this, and we heal 4. The most important part about this card, it says, Alice bonus, element bonus, pay 2, banish another card from our graveyard, put this card from our graveyard on the bottom of target champion's lineage, and then whenever it's put into the lineage, we heal 4. So this is a way that we can actually curse our Alice so we don't take the 7 damage. So ideally, we want to set up a turn where we have Maledictum Vitae either in our hand or our graveyard, and then we can either play it. We'll take the 7 if we play it. Then we'll heal 4, which isn't too bad. Or if we have this in our graveyard, we can level up into Alice, and then we can use this effect. And it's not actually playing it; it's just putting it into the lineage. So then we'll have a curse in our lineage, and then we won't take the 7 damage. So this is one of the main ways we get around the taking 7 damage with the Alice Phantom Monarch. Extremely important card in the deck. This is one that we really want to either discard or have Phantasmagoria wheel into. So keep that in mind. Extremely important card. We also have Reflected Blight. This is a 1-cost fast speed action Cleric curse spell. It says return target card from our graveyard to our memory, which is great. Then put Reflected Blight on the bottom of your champion's lineage. When you do, deal 1 unpreventable damage to your champion for each curse card in your champion's lineage. This is another way to curse our champion so we don't get constantly bombarded with 7 damage from our downside effect. It's also a great way to return a card from our graveyard to the memory. So another way we can like buy back cards. I like using this one on like Spirel or another Spectral Haunting. Like, it's good stuff. Or you can do nasty stuff with this. Like you can do Oblation 15, get Oblation back, Oblation 15 on the next turn. Super good. So we're running full 4 of these as well. So this is another 4 curses that we can do with Alice. Once again, I think the Vitae is much better because we can play it from our graveyard, but this one is also still extremely good. And then our final 2 cards are just simple fire cards. We have Creative Shock. It's just a 3-cost, draw 2, discard 1. That's all it does. We don't have the class bonus or anything. Just draw 2, discard 1. We're actually not running too many fire cards in the deck just because we have the Lineage release to heal. So we're just running the Vengeful Paramour, Creative Shock, and then Reduce to Ash here. Creative Shock is just a nice way to draw 2, discard 1. And once again, you want to discard stuff like your Liminal Guide, or like your Bandersnatch, or Jabberwocky, or something like that so we can get it back. Like even late game, you can do like a Creative Shock, draw 2, discard 1, discard like a Bandersnatch, and then Spectral Haunting to res it or something like that. So it's a pretty solid card. Running full 4 copies of this. And then the final card we're running is Reduced Ash. It's super simple. It's a 3-cost fast speed action mage spell. Destroy target item or weapon with memory cost 0 or reserve cost 4 or less. Your opponent has a really nasty like Regalia or something, like a nasty you know, just anything lame. Just blow it up. 0 cost. Just get it. Or reserve cost 4 or less. So yeah, we're running 3 copies of this, just kind of as like a tech against really annoying material deck cards. And then finally we have for our sideboard, we already talked about a lot of the cards here. So we have the 2 material deck cards that we already spoke about. You know, put them in against certain decks, put this in against your opponent if they're running a lot of negation effects, put this in if they have a lot of spell damage. We also have our additional 3 allies. Put this in if we just need a higher density of endgame threats. If we just need more finishers, we can add this in. I feel like we have a good amount already, but yeah, this helps as well. And then the last few cards we have a Regal Inquisition. There's a 2-cost action cleric spell, slow speed. Does have the Exalted, so we can only play this once we have Umbra active. I think it's one of the best cards in the game right now, by the way. It just says, look at target opponent's hand and memory. Discard any amount of cards from among them. For each card discarded this way, that opponent reveals the top card of the deck and puts it into their hand. So why is this good? Well, this is great against decks that rely on very specific cards. Against like combo decks, like Guoja, for example, you can get rid of all of their just big combo stuff, and then just have them left with like whatever else they have. So yeah, this is great. This is a really, really powerful card. Put this in against combo decks, or decks that rely on very specific cards. Yeah, very strong. Against other decks that just have a high density of like similar things like allies, this card's really bad. But against combo decks or decks, like I said, that rely on specific cards, really good. So that's why it is a sideboard card. And then our final card here, we have 3 of this. This is Harrow the Saved. We put this one in against really long, grindy matchups. So it's a 6-cost Umbra, slow action cleric specter spell. Has an Alice bonus. As long as there's a curse card in our champion's lineage, it costs 3 less to activate. So that's great. And it says, put all non-champion, non-regalia specter cards from our banishment into the graveyard. Then we heal X, where X is the amount of cards put in the graveyard this way. So it's a heal, but more importantly, it's a way to get all of our specters from banishment back into graveyard in a really, really long, grindy game. So if it's going to the top, it's like if it's going, you know, a long time, hopefully not 2 time, but if it's going a long time and we have all of our threats have been dealt with, they're all banished, you have like no hope for victory, this is a great way to help get some like longevity in those kind of matchups. So we're running 3 copies of this. And yeah, that is our Alice Phantom Monarch Fire Combo Reanimator deck. Like I said, this deck is super fun to play. You get to do a lot of crazy stuff with it. Every single turn, you know, cycling your graveyard. We also have the combo kill with the Baleful Oblation and Advent of the Stormcaller with Condemned Trinket. There's a lot of just kind of like really interesting play lines with this deck. We can also just punch our opponent in the face with our dudes. But yeah, I really, really enjoy this deck. It's not the best deck in Grand Archive right now, but it is one of my favorite to play, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So if you did, maybe leave a like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think about this deck in the comment section down below. Man, what other deck was running like Jabberwocky, Bandersnatch? Oh, this deck is sweet. This deck is sweet. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Like I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Maybe hype the video if you'd like to, you know, tell YouTube that you like the video, and it'll, you know, help promote it, push it out to more people so they can see the good word of Grand Archive. But in any case, thank you all so much for watching, for being here. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.